Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, July 10th. Over the next couple of days, we will have building heat across the Great Basin, with many valley temperatures exceeding 100 degrees as we approach Tuesday. We also will see a return of isolated thunderstorms today over parts of central and eastern Utah, along with some gusty winds and drier conditions up over southern and eastern Idaho into Wyoming. By Monday, we will see lightning coverage increase somewhat across Utah, with also a few mixed wet and dry lightning strikes over in the northern portion of the Ely district. By Tuesday, we will see a greater increase in thunderstorms over eastern and northeast Nevada, as well as continuing in Utah, and also some isolated thunderstorms developing along the Sierra front. Many of these thunderstorms will be on the drier side, especially over parts of western Utah into eastern Nevada and over the Sierra front by Tuesday. Over the last 24 hours, we've had only a few isolated thunderstorms over parts of central Idaho with limited precipitation, otherwise dry and warm conditions. Did have a fairly active day yesterday with fire activity. We had several new large fires reported over parts of central and northern Utah and also into eastern Nevada. Otherwise, smaller fires were reported across the Great Basin. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we've seen precipitation mainly confined to the eastern side and northern side of the Great Basin, with very dry conditions over southern Idaho, northern and western Utah, and into all of Nevada. Currently, our ERCs have climbed rapidly with the drier and warmer conditions in areas where we have large fires over western and northern Utah. Along with eastern Nevada, ERCs have increased dramatically to near historic maximums for the time of year. So very dry conditions, and certainly conditions have changed rapidly in the last week. 100-hour fuel moisture is also quite low over southern and central areas of the Great Basin, and even decreasing, especially over parts of western Nevada. The satellite loop from this morning shows a ridge of high pressure dominating the Four Corners area. That will continue to build westward. We still have some gusty winds up in Idaho as that trough of low pressure pushes by over northern Idaho and Montana, but otherwise we will see decreasing winds going into this week as that ridge expands, but otherwise very hot temperatures, and also that moisture under the ridge continuing to push gradually westward, increasing our thunderstorm potential. Later today, again, you can see that weak moisture over central and eastern Utah for some isolated mixed wet and dry thunderstorms. We don't have any high risk, as many of these areas over eastern Utah haven't quite recovered to the levels of increased fire danger. We will have to watch some areas in the Manti, LaSalle, and over towards the Fish Lake if we do get some isolated strikes in those drier areas. Otherwise, no high risk for today. Today, relative humidity will remain in the single digits to low teens across much of Nevada and Utah, and a little bit higher further north across Idaho where those breezy winds will occur. Most of those winds will generally be in the upper 20s to around 30 miles per hour, and again, humidity will be a little bit higher up there. As we move into Monday, we will see a better chance of thunderstorms in Utah and also some isolated strikes developing in eastern Nevada. So we do have an area of high risk for those areas for lightning as that returns to these very dry areas and also areas where we already have large fires. We could see gusty outflow winds with the very dry and hot lower levels. So again, that will be the main risk associated with the lightning. Relative humidity still remains low in many of these areas, with the exception of possibly increasing in the higher terrain of central Utah with these storms. As you can see from the image on the right, a very spotty precipitation or very spotty lightning in eastern Nevada. However, any lightning strikes would be on the dry side, that far west, so that certainly is an increase in fire potential. Across Utah, these will be more of a mix of wet and dry, and any chances of decent precipitation will be mainly tied to the higher terrain. As we move into Tuesday, we see the greater push of moisture, so we will see an increase in lightning coverage over eastern Nevada and still continuing in the Arizona Strip and western Utah. We will see a better chance of moisture over eastern Utah as we get into the Tuesday-Wednesday time period. So we have kept the high risk a little bit further west, but still this will be a good lightning event and give us a test of our fuels in some of those areas where we already have large fires. We already know our fuels are critical, so we'll see what the lightning can produce on Tuesday, but certainly an elevated risk of fire potential. Relative humidity remains low over western Utah and eastern Nevada and does again increase a little bit over eastern and central Utah. You can see from the image on the right the thunderstorms, a greater chance of coverage over eastern and northeast Nevada, and also those thunderstorms developing along the Sierra front on Tuesday. We don't have any high risk along the Sierra front, but we will have to watch some of those higher terrain areas, especially of the pine nuts over there in western Nevada. Otherwise, better coverage as you move further east. More heat this week. Temperatures today, mainly in the valleys, in the 90s. However, by Tuesday, we will see those peak in temperatures on Tuesday, Wednesday, with many valley locations over 100 degrees, even up into Idaho. So very hot and dry conditions. 3-day forecast amounts of precipitation, again, mostly spotty precipitation with these thunderstorms initially. Better chances of wetting rains isolated in parts of the higher terrain of central and southern Utah into the Arizona Strip, but again, still very spotty. In many areas, we'll see very light precipitation, if any. As we move into the Wednesday-Thursday time period, we do see a better push of moisture, so we will likely see these storms transitioning to a wetter variety, possibly for Utah. Still dry across much of Nevada, so we will see thunderstorms possibly on Tuesday in the Sierra Front, but we'll likely lose that lightning potential by Wednesday as drier air moves in. No high risk for Wednesday. It's a little too far out, but we will continue watching that for the potential of high risk, especially on the western periphery of these storms. Similar pattern for Thursday, with the moisture mainly across the eastern half of the Great Basin and also into Friday and Saturday as well. You can see the forecast amount of precipitation for the 7-day. Again, a better chance of those wetting rains, especially in the higher terrain as we move towards mid to late week, and that moisture really gets more established in Utah. But still, some areas will be only receiving light amounts of precipitation. Same for eastern Nevada as well. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from July 17th through the 23rd, shows still warmer conditions, but that better chance of monsoon moisture taking hold along the Four Corners area. So again, much of Utah should see those better chances of moisture as we continue to move from mid to late month. Otherwise, drier conditions remain across Idaho and western Nevada. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.